Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ. Hello and welcome to Before the Pour, aka 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is president of the legendary import and distribution company Skurnik Wines and Spirits, Harmon Skurnik. Skurnik Wines and Spirits is an importer and distributor of fine wines headquartered in the heart of New York City. The company began with just a handful of relatively unknown estates in 1987 and has since grown to represent over 500 estates, most of which are family owned and operated. Harmon joined the fledgling company in 1989 after 10 years in marketing for renowned advertising agencies like BBDO and Needham Harper Worldwide. We're going to get into that. Some real madman shit there. In his previous career, Harmon helped build marketing strategies for companies like Apple, Pepsi, and Xerox. This helped shape who he has become, and many wineries that they work with have come to rely on Harmon's advice based on his diverse marketing background. A partner in the company for more than 30 years, Harmon has played an integral role in the company's success. More recently, Harmon has become an active voice and serves as a board member for the U.S. Wine Trade Alliance and the industry's fight against tariffs on imported wines and spirits. Welcome to the show, Harmon.
Thank you, MJ.
You're welcome. So
Good
to
to be here.
warm us up, this is a little warm up. The warm up is fledgling. I'm gonna talk over you. We're gonna split. We're gonna make good friends real quick. I'm gonna ask you some questions, personal, not too personal. I think you've listened to this show, followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions from inside the actor's studio. All right. So the key is just to answer them quickly, whatever comes to your mind. And you're a marketing master, so this will be easy. Actually, that could be tough for you.
Easy?
I was gonna say that's the exact opposite. He's like, they didn't come up with "Where's the beef" overnight. That was like, it took like weeks.
I wasn't on the creative side of the advertising world, but
All right, so you ready?
I'll try.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book must be Kermit Lynch's Adventures on the Wine Route, because it was really influential at the time we started the company in 1987, and he was our first importer of imported wines that we worked with. And I was just really getting to learn about the wine business, and he handed me that book, and I read that book, which really brings you into the cellars of some of the greatest winemakers in the world, and really kind of was a precursor to what we ended up doing for a living for many, many years.
Very nice.
Great book.
Very nice. I have that book. I haven't read it, but I bought the book. I'm trying to like sleep on it, like osmosis or something. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie has to be The Jerk by Steve Martin.
Oh, I love that movie.
It is
Johnson,
funniest
Nave and
movie.
R.
Exactly.
Sounds like a typical asshole.
Exactly.
He hates cans.
He hates these cans. No, David, he hates you. Yes.
And the
So
fucking,
you're a fan too.
I'm a fan too, man. And the wine scene. No more of this. Like drinking like 60, 62 Obrion. No more of this also. Bring us the freshest wine you got.
Exactly. There are snails on her plate.
Yeah. Hey,
Wait
Greenie, go like this. Oh my God.
No. That's a movie you can watch like dozens of times,
Yeah.
and you like it just as much the 12th time. as you do.
Absolutely. That's a great one. Who's your favorite musical artist?
That's an easy one. Bruce.
Oh, right.
Bruce.
Bruce.
Bruce
I
was
told you I'm from Bruce territory. Monmouth County, New Jersey.
Red Bank, right?
Yeah, but same county. He's originally from Freehold, which is 20 minutes west. Just take the 520, literally west of Red Bank. And then
That's right.
and he lives in Rumson now, or
Colts Neck,
or,
I think.
or somewhere. He lives anyway. He's still in Monmouth County. He probably has, Bon Jovi lives there too. But
Well, he was when I was going to college, just kind of just breaking out, and I took to him, and I have for my whole life pretty much really relate to his music and love it. I've seen him in concert multiple times, and the best concert I ever saw was right there in Red Bank in your
Really?
neighborhood, where I went to a fundraiser at the Count Basie Theater.
that is right around the corner from my house.
Which only holds like about 1,000 people, and we got to go to this thing, and in an intimate, small theater, got to see him perform with the entire E Street Band, and that was amazing.
This is like the dick move. I can one up you. So I work for this guy, Tim McClune, who had his own band, but he's got a bunch of restaurants now, and he's friends with Bruce, and he had a restaurant, and I remember it was 1987. It was either right before or right. It was like a week before or the week after the Tunnel of Love album dropped. It was Halloween. Bruce came in.
Oh man, you got to meet him.
This close.
Wow.
I was this close because I worked at the restaurant, and they played the whole album. And I've seen him live 3 times, all in small bars in Jersey. Never had to pay.
Oh, nice.
So,
like in the early days?
no, like because I'm a little bit, I'm just a little bit younger than you, but so like late '80s, early '90s when I saw him.
And we always played those. Even as he got to be world famous, he played those little clubs, before he went on tour, just to get tuned up and stuff like that.
Exactly. Just because that's it is blood, So
saw him on Broadway too. Amazing.
Oh, that's nice, man. Favorite food to eat? Death row, last meal. What are you having?
It's got to be the poulet de Bresse from Bone in Burgundy. A number of restaurants do it amazing. It's the one breed of chicken that you can only get there, and have it with a nice bottle of red Burgundy. That's got to be it.
That's on my bucket list. Thanks, Harmon. Who is your favorite athlete?
Favorite athlete? Well, I'm a big Mets fan, so
Sorry,
Tom Seaver's got to be, and I actually got to meet him.
You gotta love. I was really sad when he passed away.
He did just recently, and as people know, I'm a big Mets fan, so. When we actually had a trip to Napa Valley, probably 10 years ago, I got to actually visit him at his home.
Oh, there. Nice! Oh, wow.
And most of the time there, I was just like a fan. Just he was entertaining us with his stories and everything, and it was great. Just great to meet my childhood hero. He was a childhood hero. He won the World Series when I was 11 years old. So I actually went to the game.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You have that in common with Cliffy, our mutual friend.
Corny. I call him Corny.
I call him. Well, it depends. Sometimes depending where you met me in my life. So he calls me Mirv, M-I-R-V.
Really?
Which is shorten of my government name. And I call him Kieran, K-I-R-N. Like, what's up, Kieran? Or I call him Kieran Dog. We're talking about you, Kieran Dog. The wine I gave you. The with the No Limit that you said was amazing.
That's his wine.
Yeah, it's his wine.
Yeah. Cliff Corn we're talking about.
That's it. The one and only Cliff Corn. He's a great guy, and he knows a shit ton about wine.
He's a pretty good baseball player.
And he's a good baseball player. He plays hockey, but he talks about him like he's an everyman's wine guy. Yeah. I would call Corn. None of the pretension. There's no pretension with the guy. He drinks the best shit in the world, but no pretension. All right. Favorite cartoon as a child?
Oh God, as a child, I used to sit in front of the TV, watching cartoons as a kid. We didn't have video games and stuff like that.
I know.
But either Bugs Bunny or Roadrunner.
Nice.
I guess.
Nice.
I liked them both.
Nice. I liked Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, genius.
Always got blown up.
He did. For such a smart guy, he always lost. All right. What was your favorite cereal?
Oh, my favorite cereal?
He's like, we only had like Cheerios.
Well, I'm as an adult, I still eat cereal, and I try to eat healthy. Try to eat ones that don't have a lot of sugar. But back then, they all had tons of sugar.
Oh, yeah.
So sugar frosted flakes,
they're
great.
They were the best, man. That was like the only sugar cereal we got to have was like Frosted Flakes. So when I went to college, I got all over Captain Crunch.
So stuff is so bad for you, and we just didn't know it then. I think.
Listen.
Just feed the kids tons of sugar. You wonder why you have a diabetes problem in this country.
And hyperactive problem.
Exactly.
What is your current exercise routine?
My current exercise routine. I have a trainer, who in the last year or so, David Johnson's his name. He's, in case you're out there, David. We've been doing it virtually, on FaceTime. So, and he's a great guy, and we do it 2-3 times a week, and then normally speaking, I walk to my office every day and back and forth, and I live in the city, and everything's so much walking that, but the last year we haven't been able to do much of that, but we're getting back to it though. The city's
Nice.
coming back.
I know.
Yeah.
It's looking good today. Starting to look pretty, even though it was cold. It looked good. The other when it's warm, when it gets warm, oof.
Yeah.
Love spring. There's something about spring in New York
It's
City.
happening.
Yeah.
Although today it's like February again.
I know. Who is your favorite comedian?
Well, I mentioned Steve Martin already from the movie, but I loved Robin Williams. I thought he was genius. I mean, the stuff that comes out of his brain.
Yeah. Totally.
Genius. Total genius. John Cleese, too. I'm a huge Monty Python fan.
I can see that. Very nice. I'm a little off my Monty Python game, which is probably good. Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
Besides MJ?
Yeah, man, besides
Okay.
me.
Well, we got
That's a good
some.
answer. Thanks for saying that.
Well,
He's the first person who got that one right. Ding, ding, ding. Survey says the number one answer. 100 podcasts are surveyed. Guests are surveyed.
Can it be two people?
It can be.
I just finished listening to the podcast that Bruce Springsteen did with Barack Obama, which I highly recommend that everybody listen to, whether you're a fan of either one of them or not. Really great conversations. But they're two of my favorite people in the world that I've never met. Would love to. Either one of them or both together would be kind of cool because they know each other and they're friends.
I know. See, now you got me thinking. I'm going to have to hook that up.
Well, you know Bruce.
I know somebody who knows Bruce.
Yeah. Do you know Barack?
I know. I'm 1 degree from Barack.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
I know somebody who knows somebody.
All right. I could provide the wine.
I know, and then we'll get you because you know why. All right. So now we're gonna get serious, and we're going to ask the questions from inside the actor's studio. Harmon, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word is going to have to be the word that I think is the funniest word because it makes me laugh every time I say it, and that's borscht. Does that work as a favorite word?
That does, and it just brings back an Acker story because we were talking before the show about Steve Green, and we would have code for certain wines. This is not your book because I can't wait to get how tight your book is, but certain people, he would say, Mr. Marvin, this is borscht. That's what we call bad wine.
Oh yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah,
that would be.
Yeah.
If the wine tastes like borscht, you wouldn't want to buy it.
You wouldn't want to buy it, but we'd say it's very earthy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got to tell you, got to give a clip.
Certain terms are not compliments,
No. We got to tell you.
This wine tastes like broccoli,
Yeah. Nah, it's not good. What is your least favorite word?
Phlegm.
Oh, good one.
Phlegm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good one. What turns you on?
Well, my wife might be listening, so I'll have to say.
I know. I'm gonna ask, when guys don't say it, so you're like, okay, say the obvious
for
answer.
Sure, my wife turns me on. But I'll go with a really perfectly aged wine that's been aged perfectly in a great cellar, and that's in the zone, which is a term that we kind of. I kind of like to think that the old timers at Skurnik created that term on a trip to Europe one year. Doug Polaner was on the trip. He's now runs his own company.
Yeah, no. So we're going to talk about Skurnik alumni too.
A wine that's in the zone.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, no. I think I would say in the cut or it's in the pocket, but I know exactly what you mean. You're catching it in the right window.
And it doesn't happen that often.
No, that's the thing.
Good wines, yes, but when it's perfect and in the zone.
Right. And that's the tough part about aging wine. That's why I drink so many wines young. Just because that is a game. Like I said, that's tough to do.
Well, the cellar conditions are the most important thing.
Yeah.
Of course, the wine's got to be great to begin with, but bad cellar, good wine, bad cellar equals bad wine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you got to have the right cellar.
Okay. What turns you off?
Bullshit.
I love it.
Bullshitters.
Yeah.
I don't like bullshitters.
Yeah.
You gotta.
What sound or noise do you love?
I'm kind of a beach guy, and I love the sound of sleeping at night with the windows open and the waves crashing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's what I like.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So then what sound or noise do you hate?
Just the other day, I heard a sound that I hated, which was walking the streets of Manhattan and hearing the asshole. Can I say that?
You can say whatever you want.
Who feels that he has to have his car driving with the windows open and the stereo playing so loud that you can hear it 10 blocks away.
Yeah.
And like the entire,
the whole city's like, what the fuck, bro?
What's wrong with you?
Like, literally,
What's
like,
wrong?
I never thought I'd be that guy because I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't want to listen to your music, bro.
I mean, I don't mind. I like hearing music, but it's so loud that the ground shakes.
Yeah, I don't understand that. All right. What's your favorite curse word?
There's only one. Fuck. Fuck. Come on.
Nice.
Is there another curse word? I don't know.
We had a guest say damn.
Damn.
But she's a
Really?
mom, and I think she was censoring herself. I was like, yeah, you're right. Damn, we give it more love. Damn needs more love. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I don't. I mean, to say that I would like to attempt something in the future might be tough to come up with. But I could talk about what I might have wanted to attempt.
Perfect.
Like when I was a kid, I mean, I obviously wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I mean, that would be like something that would have been a dream come true,
You could do. Didn't Will Ferrell do a whole thing where he was trying to he acted like he was trying out for a baseball team a couple of years ago?
Oh, he actually tried that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they filmed it.
George Plimpton used to do stuff.
Well,
like
George
that.
Plimpton had that really good gag about the pitcher on April Fool's Day, and this paragraph spelled April Fool's, like APR, but it was about some guy.
Oh, really?
I remember this. Cliff would probably know, but it was printed in North Sports Illustrated. It was an April Fool's Day gag about some guy who came from out of nowhere, and he's 35 years old and he could throw 120 miles an hour, and it was written just like you thought, what the hell? And then you went back and it was April. It was APRI. Every paragraph.
Well, he did
started
a ton of things. I mean, he wrote that book Paper Lion, and I think it was a movie too, where he actually tried out for the Detroit Lions.
Right.
But I mean, I lived out that fantasy by going to Mets fantasy camp, which is where Cliff and I hung out and became good friends there.
Very cool. What profession would you not like to do?
That's an easy one. I would never ever want to be a lawyer.
I hear you.
Did you go to law school?
I did.
Oh man!
And literally, there was a day when it was I don't know, the dean came and he's like, "Look around. These are going to be your colleagues for the next 30 years." I'm like, I am not going to be around these assholes for the next 30 years. That's literally what I said about it. I was like, nope.
I know more lawyers who hate what they do, and I know more people who graduated. I know a lot of people who graduated law school who realized that this is not what I want to do and did something else.
Yep. No,
I guess you're among them.
I am among that breed. And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Honestly, I would just want him to say, you've lived a good life and you're a good person.
Awesome. I'm sure he would say that. Harmon, this was definitely fun. And if you guys want more Harmon, and I know you do, make sure you tune into our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Until next time, it's MJ. Cheers and peace. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your boy, MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is president of the legendary import and distribution company, Skurnik Wines and Spirits, Harmon Skurnik. Skurnik Wines and Spirits is an importer and distributor of fine wines and spirits headquartered right in the heart of New York City. The company began with just a handful of relatively unknown estates back in 1987 and has since grown to represent over 500 estates, most of which, like their company, are family-owned and operated. Harmon joined the fledgling company in 1989 after 10 years in marketing for renowned advertising agencies like BBDO and Needham Harper worldwide. And in his previous career, Harmon helped build marketing strategies for companies like Apple, Pepsi, and Xerox. This helped shape who he has become, and many wineries have come to rely on Harmon's advice based on his diverse marketing background. A partner in the company for more than 30 years, Harmon has played an integral role in the company's success. And most recently, Harmon became an active voice and serves as a board member for the U.S. Wine Trade Alliance in the industry's fight against the tariffs that were placed on imported wines and spirits by some asshole. Welcome, Harmon. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, thanks for that.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
that great introduction. Especially that asshole part.
I know.
I agree with you completely.
I know you do, because Harmon and I connected. I've known about Skurnik Wines since I got started in the business at Acker. I believe Acker, we were one of your biggest accounts. I mean, and John, I know, just
Still are.
Yeah. It's when I really learned the importance of importers, which we'll get into. But so we actually connected through here again on Instagram. Harmon is a great guy. He's following me. We have a mutual friend, Cliff, who I worked with at Acker, and he knows Harmon not just from the business, but they're both huge Mets fans.
Yeah.
And they went to Mets fantasy camp, and I think Cliff played shortstop, and you played third base. And
That's right.
So
That's right.
So
The left side of the infield was solid.
It was tight.
Tight. He led off, and I batted third too.
Oh man,
He's
nice.
I had a batting average of like 500 or 550 during the fantasy camp, and I think he got like 6'4". He got the trophy.
Oh damn.
You know, he's better than me.
So Harmon came and represented like as a true importer. I've had some importers, but Harmon, he came in hot. He brought 4 bottles. Tell us what we're going to be drinking tonight, Harmon.
Well, 2 out of the 4 bottles I wanted to bring are actually 2 wines that have really never been tasted, I don't think, by anybody in this country. So
we've done it again. I swear to God, this pocket, we get so many.
I thought,
cool
why not?
firsts.
Why not here?
Thank you,
why
man.
Not here with MJ, man. We'll taste some new things that nobody has ever even heard of.
Yeah.
Or a bit. Some people have heard of one of these maybe. But what we have in the glass now is a white Burgundy from Pierre Vincent Girardin. Girardin is a really well-known, famous name in Burgundy. Mm-hmm. His father, Vincent Girardin, created a company, a winery that was super successful and then got bought out by Boisset many years ago. But of course, he retained a lot of the best vineyard plots in Burgundy and handed them down to his young son, Pierre Vincent, who's only in his early 20s. But he grew up making wine from the time he was 10 years old with his dad, and this is only his 2nd or 3rd vintage. This is the 18 Saint-Aubin, and I love the name of this vineyard. It's called Murgers des Dents de Chien. Any guesses of what that means?
It means the guy with dents in his head. I have no idea. I don't. And I actually had like 6 years of French.
Well, it's one of the best.
All I know is merde.
Well, first of all, Saint-Aubin is one of my favorite regions for white Burgundy because it has been underappreciated for so many years. But the location of it is just above all the Grand Crus. This vineyard is just above Chevalier Montrachet, which is one of the greatest white wines in the world. And but it's it was just above, and so considered too cold for making great wine. But with global warming and climate change, Saint-Aubin is your best bet for value white Burgundy. And this vineyard, which means Murgers is kind of like the stones that come out of the vineyard. It's a very stony vineyard. When they clear the vineyard, they pile up the stones. They call them Murgers. And then Dents de Chien is dog's teeth.
Oh, okay.
So I love the name. It's the stones of dog's teeth.
Actually, that's very cool.
And considered one of the best vineyards in Saint-Aubin. And Girardin is making terrific whites and red wines, and it's relatively new. It's a new brand. So
yeah, I believe you guys did like an IG Live with him last year, didn't you?
Yes,
Okay,
with David Hinkle, our French portfolio manager. Yeah.
Tell David he needs to smile. David, you need to smile, man. He comes in pretty intense. He's a handsome dude. He's got that angular face, but he comes in intense, man.
He's very intense. That's what we love about him. He's so good at his job.
No, I believe it, man. I was like, I'm gonna have to give Harmon a little. I'm like, that dude. He just comes in. He's ready to go. I love it though. He learned a lot on his lives.
Well, I've traveled a lot with him in France, and with a bottle of wine, he loosens up quite a bit, and we have a good time.
Cool. Well, thank you. This is amazing, and every time I have white Burgundy, I'm like, fuck, it's so good. Like, I mean, you guys have a great book. We know this. And we'll get into that, but like one of my favorite books till this day. And you have a lot of great California wines, but like, to get this type of Chardonnay out of California, you're spending a lot more money. Like, and like you said, you can find these little gems where it's like above Chevalier Montrachet, and this might, I don't know if it's real, but even at that price, like, like what does a fucking Marcus Sand cost? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, what's amazing is that and I mentioned how cool the climate is in Saint-Aubin and why it's desirable now as the weather is warming. It used to be in Burgundy, it was hard to get grapes ripe.
Yeah.
So, the best sites in Burgundy, and the Grand Crus and the best sites were south facing, so they would get as much sun as possible. But today, the cooler sites are, the insiders' best wines, and the same goes in California. Where the best Chardonnays and Pinots being made are really cool climates.
Sonoma Coast, Santa Rita Hills,
Santa Barbara.
Yep.
Me and
Cliffville stomping grounds.
Yep. So and that's and of course the Sonoma Coast. The closer you are to the ocean in California, the cooler the cooler the climate. So that's really the secret is especially with all the fires and the climate changing, to have a good cool climate to elaborate your grapes.
There you go. All right, so we got so much to talk about. Yeah. We're just on the first wine. Oh, and also, what are we drinking out of?
Well, thank you for asking. Well, I brought these wine glasses with me to
yeah, mine weren't good enough. He's like, I've seen your clips, MJ. I don't want little plastic cups. We're not at the frat house.
Well, no, it's not that they're fancy. It's just that these are the only wine glasses we actually sell. We represent these great wine glasses that were designed by the famous wine critic Jancis Robinson, who's become a friend of ours now. But she, met up with this guy Richard Brendan, who's a designer of glassware, and they, and Jancis says she always wanted to create the perfect wine glass, and so she had the opportunity to design this from scratch, and it's the perfect shape for really all wines, and it's true. Every wine, whether it's red, white, sweet, dry, tastes better in this glass than any other glass, and we've actually done that in blind tastings and stuff like that. So, yes, we represent it. We're happy to. We sell to a number of restaurants in the States. We also have a website where consumers can buy, and it's been very successful.
Well, we'll make sure we get that in the show notes for you.
Yeah,
for sure.
Excellent.
So you and your brother Michael, who originally founded, your brother Michael started Michael Skurnik Wines.
That's correct. It used to be called Michael Skurnik Wines until maybe 10 years ago.
Okay. But and then you came on like a couple years after you started, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But you guys were raised in Long Island, and I've read, and actually I think Michael, I might have been somewhere where Michael shared this, but your parents, you guys live on Long Island, your parents went to Europe and came back and built a wine cellar in the house. Is that correct?
That's pretty, yeah, that's accurate. We often say they went to France, 1970 it was. They went there as Scotch drinkers and they came home wine drinkers. No, it's true. They went there and experienced, because America back in 1970 was not a wine drinking country, and you could argue that it's not really a wine drinking country even now.
Right.
But back then it really wasn't. I mean, it was mixed cocktails, Mad Men you mentioned before. It's like wine and food culture didn't really exist. There wasn't really a big restaurant culture, and Americans didn't know. Wine was kind of, you could order have cheap wine to drink, but it wasn't like the understanding the great wines of Europe. Wasn't normal for Americans. We grew up with soda pop, but my parents went to France, and my mother especially got enthralled with the wine and food culture there. And when she came home, she called up wine shop at the time in Forest Hills. It was I can't remember the name of it, but a very famous wine shop, and started to stock her cellar. And my father, who was in the frozen food business, he was a salesman. He traveled the country selling, French fried potatoes to the big fast food chains and stuff like that, container loads of that stuff. But he had freezers in the house, and so he ordered up a freezer, and he built in shelves, and he set it to the proper temperature, 55 degrees. And my mother filled it up with 61 Bordeaux's and 66s and German Rieslings, and really started drinking wine with dinner at night. And as kids, we got influenced by that, and we were interested in how much they really loved wine and food, and so we kind of grew up around that.
That's really cool. That's super cool. Yeah. So you mentioned, like 61 Bordeaux's, like she was getting those for like what, like $1 a bottle, like a case. Yeah. I mean, a case could have been more than how much could a case have?
Yeah. Well, she wasn't getting like she didn't get like the first growths or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, really good 61s probably for $15-20 a case.
I know. I mean,
it's crazy.
It was crazy. I mean, even John Capon talks about his like when his father Michael took over the business, like. He was giving away fucking DRC because people didn't want it. Like people like I seen ads where like a case of Petrus for $200, a fucking case of Petrus for $200 back then.
If we invested back
then, I know, man. Like I mean, who knew it was gonna be this thing? Yeah. So that was been really cool. Like your parents, and then you said also drinking Rieslings.
Yeah, she was drinking Rieslings back then. And she even had Baron Auslese, the wow. fancy, dessert wines from Germany too. And we got to taste, and we got exposed to it, and which I think really we owe the fact that we're in the wine business to my mom, really.
Ain't moms the best?
They can be.
They really are.
Can be.
They really are. I mean, yes, they can be. It sounds like you had a good mom. So I had a good mom too. Some
definitely had a good mom and a great dad.
That's awesome. So I think who's older, you or Michael?
Michael is.
Michael's older. Okay. So were you guys close growing up? Did he beat the shit out of you? Like, what kind of big brother was he, man?
Now we're getting personal. A little of both, actually. He was almost 5 years older. I was like the bratty young brother, and he, could beat up on me a little bit. My father used to tell him, "You better watch out. One day he's going to be taller and bigger than you, and he's going to get back at you." And I ended up being taller and bigger than him. But the reality is, as we got older, he was in high school, and I was in junior high, and he went to college, and I was in high school. I looked up to him. He was really my, a mentor for me, and I wanted to be like him, and and that kind of thing. He taught me a lot. He got me high first when I was only 13 years old. And
sorry, Mom.
She's gone now, so
I'm sorry.
But, maybe she hears me up
I
there.
Know, yeah. She's like, Michael. Yeah, you're not in trouble. Michael's in trouble.
Yeah. Well, he always was. He was more in trouble than I was. I was much better at following the rules and being able to get away with shit.
Yeah.
Like I would get away. I would get high and nobody would know that I was getting high. But he would get high and my parents would figure it out somehow because he was first.
Right.
He went through it first. But. Yeah, but I know, and I did look up to him, and so we grew very close. We were very, very close as teenagers and young 20s, and he graduated college with a degree in zoology, And so, I don't know if he was going to work in a zoo or work in a lab somewhere. And he came back to New York City and got an apartment downtown and was wondering what to do with his life and didn't really know. Thought, maybe he'd go back to dental school or whatever else. And, we went up to Windows on the World at the top of the World Trade Center for a drink with the family. And I actually suggested to him, why don't you, while you're thinking about what you're going to do, why don't you get a job here as a waiter? They look like they make some pretty good bucks. And that's what he ended up doing. And he was a waiter up at Windows, clearing some pretty good cash. And then he befriended Kevin Zraeli, who was the sommelier there, who was really well known for having the best wine list in the country at the time. And he became a waiter, then a captain, and then became Kevin's assistant there. And a lot of people who were Kevin's assistants over the years have become well known in the wine industry and branched out from there. But Windows became kind of this percolating or percolator of talent. And when Michael left Windows to become a salesperson for a small distributor at that time, he would call on his friends from Windows, and they would be buying his wine and stuff like that. So before he started Skurnik Wines.
Nice. So yeah, that was like you said, percolator. What's the term they use now in tech? It was like an incubator.
An incubator.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what I meant to say. Yeah. I said percolator.
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of similar.
It's similar. Yeah. I mean, it involves heat and keeping things alive. Anyway, but yeah, no. I mean that it's like almost like a farm system. Use sports terms, right? Like. Yeah. And we're gonna get into the Skurnik Wines farm system.
We were our own farm system.
Yeah.
That's right.
A little bit later, but yeah, I'd actually heard it. I think Kevin was on Levy's podcast. One of the ones I listened to was really good, and of course Michael came up. He's one of the. There's been so many people, but I
listened to that.
Yeah, he's like the fact that Levy is like he's like one of the superstar. Like, there's people who but he's like a Heisman Trophy winner of the alumni. Yeah. Sorry, these sports references. It's Cliff's in the room somehow. Yeah, you mentioned that. So clearly, even though you grew up with this wine influence, I don't think you guys were thinking about being in the wine business when you were younger, though, right?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. But because of that exposure, when it became available to Michael first, I was all along while he was doing that and selling wine for a living, I was going to business school, and I graduated and went to work in marketing research firms first, and then I went to advertising agencies, and I was following a completely different career path. Never thought I would be in the wine business ever. But as Michael started to formulate his idea for his own company, we would go out to dinner together. I remember one time particularly where he took me to Chien's Chop House, which still exists today. Make great steaks, and he ordered a bottle of wine off the list that he had brought in for them from William Sellium, which was not really very well known back then.
Yeah, that was like one of the first American garage wines.
Correct.
Breakout.
And they made Pinot Noir at a time when nobody in America drank Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
There was the movie Sideways hadn't happened yet, and but they also made a really incredible Zinfandel.
I know.
Called which was purchased from grapes from Lino Martinelli, which was a winery now, Martinelli Winery, but this is now called Jackass Hill. But William Sellium made those wine from those grapes, and so the reason I brought that up is we went to this dinner at Chien's Chop House, and we're drinking William Sellium's Zinfandel, and he's telling me about his idea about bringing in these California wines that he's been bringing in, I said one day if maybe we'll work together. Maybe one day, one day he did call me and say, quit your job, because that's when he landed the Kermit Lynch portfolio. And he said, just call me. I said, quit your job tomorrow. Come where, let's work together. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So what was it like? Because you worked at a BBDO is a huge, and both and Needham.
Batten, Barton, Durston, and Osborne.
Like literally,
I don't even know why I remember that, but
like
what it
that's
stands
like
for.
one of like the competitors of the fictitious law firm, advertising firm, Madman. Like they mentioned that. Like that's
In Mad
iconic.
Men.
Yeah, it's an
Yes.
iconic.
Yes. Mad Men was based, I think, on Doyle Dane Burnback,
Right.
which is DDB.
Right.
And BBDO, was at the very forefront, in the 1980s when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
At the forefront, they were the ones who did the Apple Macintosh commercials. Phil Duesenberry was the creative director there. And we had, Pepsi, all the Pepsi ads with Michael Jackson.
The burnt hair one.
The burnt hair one was BBDO. Yeah, absolutely. And so, we had these incredible clients, and I was on the marketing and research side of things. We did the surveys of consumers to see if they liked this formula better than that formula, or this ad better than that ad. And that was what I studied in school, statistics and all that kind of stuff. And learning what a marketing plan is, and having marketing direction was, ended up being helpful throughout my life, but and something that most wine people don't really have that kind of background. And so the combination of learning how to appreciate wine, how to sell wine, but also how to market it is has served me well.
So it's so funny. I'm looking. I don't usually use a lot of notes, but it's like my producer read your mind. Like you already told us, like, did you get a phone call? Literally, Michael got the account with Kermit Lynch.
Kermit Lynch gave him his first French portfolio. Prior to then, he only had California wines. There were no French wines, no Italian wines, no Spanish wines, and Bonnie Doon was the first California winery that ever said yes. Thanks to Randall Graham.
The Cal de Solo, the Barbera. Yeah. I love that. That like kind of hooked me on Cal Italias. That California Barbera they used to do back in the day was so good.
Yeah, Randall used to buy the grapes that no one else wanted. That's how he started with the Rhone varieties, with Le Cigare Volant and Van Gris, and then he ended up doing the first, pretty much the first Cal Ital, because these grapes, Malvasia and stuff, were
that was good too. The Malvasia Bianca. Oh my God, I loved those wines. And they were like $15, like in the late '90s. And they were so freaking good.
But when Kermit Lynch with Raveneau and Cocherie and Robert Chevillon and the great Rhone producers Jean-Taz Dervia at the time, and Cornas from Nolverset, all these great wines, and created an instant French portfolio. We were like, we had a company, and he had the ability to pay me. And so I literally resigned the next day.
That's awesome.
And that was, it was great. It's great. It's really worked out well.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now and you kind of touched on this, because you do see there's so much passion in the wine business, which can get you started, but it can't always sustain you if you don't have systems in place. So like you had a different background. Did you have a vision when you came on board, or it just was like, we got to make this work? Was there a specific vision you guys had when you came on board, or it was just like, I need help?
When I came on board, he needed help. He needed help to run the company, to help run the company. Like, we had to type up invoices. We didn't have, first of all, I worked on the Apple account. So I actually had one of the first Macintosh computers in my office at BBDO. And I was able to learn some computer programs at the time. This was brand new technology. And so being able to do word processing and be able to, put out invoicing and be able to, keep track of your inventory and things like that were, this was new. New technology, and very, very basic at the time. But no, I came on board to try to help run the office while Michael was the salesman. He had a lot of sales experience. So he could get out there and be with the customers and taste them on the wines, while I answered the phones and did took orders that way. And also, got the invoices out, licked the envelopes. So and we shared a secretary. We had this office in Long Island with a friend of Michael's who was in the liquor business also, and we shared one secretary. And You know, it was, and we know what was really amazing is that, you know, we never took a bank loan out.
Oh, that's
We
awesome.
had
Wow.
to, you know, talk about taking risk. We would buy the wines, and we had to sell them quickly so that we could get paid, so we could pay our invoices. So we were motivated to really move through the goods quickly, and so we did a lot of pre-sales. You know, sometimes the wines would be sold before they arrived, so that we could then ship them out and get paid. Because, you know, we didn't have a lot of money to start this company, and we never took out loans. So, you know, it worked. That worked.
Old school,
Yeah.
bootstrapping, lean startup, self-finance, not people where people create companies now to get a financing round. Like, that's the goal. It's not even to have a profit. How can we make
That
ourselves?
didn't exist then.
It was just like, how can we get another round of financing?
Exactly.
It's so different.
It
It's
is
so different.
So different. But, you know, I think a lot of times, you know, I mean, that is the goal today. And sometimes, you know, in some ways, that's kind of a mirage. It may end up failing at some point, depending on the stock market and ability to finance. But when you build a company on those building blocks of reality of, you know, building capital in order to be able to expand healthy that way without having a lot of investors and be able to be independent, I think it's a lot healthier way to grow. And it's worked well for us. We really have grown kind of slowly and steadily over the years. And you know, and if you're a healthy company and you can pay your bills, wineries want to work with you. It's kind of basic, but it's like,
Go figure. This guy's not going to
know?
take our wine, sell it, and not pay us. I mean, it's a go figure.
the basics are important. You know, they don't, you know, they don't want to work with you because you have a great personality. They don't, you know, you got to be a good business person. You know, the wine business is we always say this is about two things. You know, it's about the wines, and it's about business, and you got to be good at both of them.
Right.
If you're good at one and not the other, you're going to fail. And either way, you know, you could be, you know, there's business people who know how to move boxes. They don't know the first thing about wine. They're not going to be successful. You got to know both.
Yeah. Well, what else we got to drink here?
Oh, yeah,
Glasses are empty, and we got lots of wines.
Right. Well, here's one that you'll be one of the first people in the country to drink. You've heard of Paul Hobbs, the winemaker from California?
Paul Hobbs, of course. Paul Hobbs is the man. Paul Hobbs did a lot of single vineyard Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs and some Cabernets, and he works around the world. I know he's done stuff in Argentina. He's doing some.
Correct. He's a winemaker from you know, around the world. He's got tons of clients, but this is one of his own projects, and it's brand new, and it's up in the Finger Lakes in New York, and you know, and the way it's called Hillock and Hobbs. Hillock, I think, is his mother's maiden name, perhaps, and this is the first release ever of the vineyard that he purchased and developed, and it's Riesling, of course, which is the best, you know, wine from the Finger Lakes, but a lot of people don't know Paul Hobbs is originally from Western New York. He's from Buffalo.
What?
Yeah,
Did
Buffalo,
not
New
know
York.
that.
Yeah. And so he grew up on a farm in Buffalo with big family, and you know, one of the ultra successful California winemakers, and he wanted to go back closer to home. Finger Lakes is, you know, one of the great up and coming regions in America for Riesling especially, and he wanted to develop a vineyard. And he actually asked me, you know, do you know any, you know, German winemakers, because he knows we're big in German wines, importing German wines, and who he could, you know, ask about Riesling and consult with. So I hooked him up with Johannes Selbach from Selbach Oster, one of the great wineries in the Mosel Valley in Germany, and they kind of became partners on this project. And Johannes gave him a lot of, you know, tips about Riesling and how it's different from, because Paul had never worked with Riesling before.
Right.
And boy, did they do a great job, I think. With and this is the first release from Young Vines, you know.
And
it smells just like a wine from Germany.
It
doesn't
does. It's got varietal typicity, I believe is the word. It smells like what Riesling is supposed to smell like, just right on the nose.
Exactly.
And that's very cool. So you know what? we're gonna take a break right there because you mentioned something about how you guys have worked with Riesling. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk Riesling and how you guys began to expand the portfolio of Skurnik wines.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Okay, we're back. So we were talking. We just got into this Paul Hobbs Finger Lakes Riesling project that he worked on. He got advised by the Selbach family, which is iconic. When you talk about European wine families, you're talking centuries. Like some of these people who make a wine, like some families make wine for 800 years, which is just astounding, right?
Schloss Gobelsberg in Austria, who we represent, who's one of the great producers in Austria, are celebrating their 850th anniversary this year.
Yeah, I mean that's insane.
It's insane, right?
So
the Middle Ages,
I know, literally, like they've seen it all. That family's seen it all.
Totally.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys, I remember you guys especially because you guys had all the cult California stuff early on in your book, and then like you said, and then Kermit threw you guys a nice bone and got your French portfolio, and then I remember when I worked at Acker. You guys had a very strong German portfolio. Terry Thies. Talk about Terry Thies.
Sure. Well, our first German wine portfolio was actually Rudi Wiest.
Okay.
He got us in the German wine business originally, and that was in the early to mid '90s.
Okay.
And then we had a guy working for us at the time named David Bowler. You've heard that name?
Yeah, he's going to come out. And the farm team. You guys got
the
a
farm
crazy
team.
time. Yeah.
David used to work for Willie Abramsky at Crossroads, and he used to sell a ton. He was a huge customer for Terry Thies. So David would say, we got the Rudi Wiest wines, and I love selling these, but you guys should pick up the Terry Thies wines. They get better scores from Parker, and you sell a lot more, and they're priced better, and all this kind of stuff. So he introduced us to Terry. I think back in the late '90s, probably '97, '98, and we ended up trading. We got the farm team. We got to trade the players too. Right. So we ended up trading Rudi for Terry and growing the business to double. First we were just a distributor for his wines in New York, because we. But then, and he had an importer named Milton Kronheim in Maryland, where he was based, and. They didn't do anything for him. They were just like
Uncle Milt didn't do his job.
Uncle Milt just put the label on the back and didn't do anything.
I love it.
And but we were dynamic. We sold a ton of his German wines. At the time, it was just Germany. He hadn't gotten to Austria or Champagne yet. And so ultimately, he dumped Uncle Milty for Skurnik, and we became the national importer.
Okay.
For Terry's wines, and so the number one importer of fine German wines, and then of course he expanded into Austria, and then grower champagnes kind of created that category.
So with the Austria, he was you guys helped to really introduce U.S. to Gruner
Veltliner, yeah.
What was that like? Because German wines were just still obscure to the average, and to this day, like Riesling still is not understood by the average American wine drinker.
True.
So like, what was
most
like?
people think it's
Sweet. Yeah, they think of Blue Nun.
And most Riesling today is dry.
Right.
Like this one.
Yep. So what was like? So then you got these Gruner Veltliners.
Yeah. Look, Austria coming when we started with these Austrian wines. Most people don't remember this, but Austria was coming off a huge scandal in the 80s. In 1985, there was a story about somebody who got arrested for creating sweet wines using diethylene glycol or like. I don't know if it's the same thing as antifreeze, but it's kind of thing.
It's an ingredient in antifreeze.
People died.
It goes in antifreeze.
Yeah, and people died.
Yep.
And so Austria was associated with this scandal. And so for a decade or more, there was no Austrian imports, and so you had this bad image about Austria. But Austria's wines are all primarily dry, and this whole scandal with the sweet wines was ancient history by then, but you still had to overcome this bad image. And then you had this new grape variety that no one had ever heard of, Gruner Veltliner, which really sort of became a darling with the sommelier community, which is always the best way to introduce new wines and market wines is through the sommelier community. And they really took to it. And one of the reasons is because it's the best wine to go with vegetarian food and vegetables. You know, not that many wines go with asparagus, but
I know that is the classic. Like, what do you pair with asparagus? I mean, that's the stumper, right?
It's not as bad as artichoke.
Yeah.
Artichoke is the worst. It ruins almost every wine it touches.
That is true. And yet, when I lived in California, we would sell a grilled artichoke with a garlic aioli, and people would love it. And they would. And I was working in Montecito, so someone would buy a bottle of Krug and just have it with an artichoke.
Champagne goes with
everything. But that's what we say, right? So since we talked about champagne, so then also, you guys were kind of. I don't know if this was Terry, but I remember you guys brought over this grower champagne. I don't know if it was grower, but small producer. It's called Egly-Ouriet. Remember those coming over in like
that was
90,
pre-Terry.
Yeah, it was like 90. Was it Acres? So 97, 98. Egly-Ouriet. Like, how did you find those guys? Like, and I mean, because we actually, I don't know, but we did a tasting at Acres. So it was Cliff, John, and New Year's Eve. 1998, so it was 97 going to 98, and we had like 20 different champagnes, and we had all the Egleys, and we did it blind. We had and all the Egleys finished in the top 10, and we had DP, DP Rosé, we had Krug. Yeah, this is a good story. We had the Grand Dame Rosé. It was the first vintage. I mean, we had Bollinger RD 76. I mean, we went in that night, and the Egleys just killed it. So how did you find this? Like, and I know the property. Where's the property located, and how'd you guys find them?
Egly is in Ambonnet, Egly-Ouriet, which is Pinot Noir territory for Champagne. But how did we find them? Well, they were really our first grower champagne. At the time, we didn't even use that term, grower champagne.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But there were a few. Kermit had actually Kermit's grower champagne was our first. Paul Barra. Okay. Who still exists today and is very fine quality. But how we found Egly is through an agent who was very instrumental in us building our French portfolio. His name is Peter Vaison. Peter Vaison is now kind of retired. His wife has taken over his business, but he was somebody who we would travel to France multiple times a year. He would take us around, introduce us to wineries that he represented or discovered or found, and put us, kind of be a broker and put us together. And that's how he's the one who introduced us to Egly originally. Egly-Ouriet is now world famous, and the wines have never been better. The wines are just spectacular at the very, very top echelon. At the time, nobody really knew who they were.
Yeah.
But they got great scores from. The only score that mattered in those days, Robert Parker.
Or there could be only one.
And it was a real feather in our cap.
But I remember those were all like under $50. This was like 97, 98. It was, and we were like, holy shit.
They've gotten a lot more expensive.
I know. So let's talk about. So there wasn't the term grower champagne. So then Terry, German wines with Terry, then Austrian, and then. He became a big voice for what we now know as grower champagne.
Correct.
Yeah.
Terry, when he was, traveling to Germany and Austria every year for many years, he went to Champagne just for fun. So he got to know a number of different growers there, and said he wanted to start importing champagne. We thought he was crazy. Because you got enough on your plate selling Riesling and Gruner Veltliner, but we became convinced that at the time the champagne market was dominated by the large luxury brands, LVMH, advertising, special occasions, luxury,
and much to their chagrin, hip hop was all about Cristal. Talk about what I mean, like that whole story with Jay-Z's thing, but literally, like that's,
Hmm.
I mean, that opened up a whole new market was these bottles of Cristal in
Totally.
these videos. Like it
Yeah.
was crazy.
Crazy. Crazy.
But that was the market then.
But the thing is, the thing that really intrigued us was the um, analogy to Burgundy. Burgundy used to be dominated by big firms too. Not the same way, not with the advertising and the luxury, uh, but the small growers ended up becoming the most desirable Burgundies over course of time. It's only been maybe 50, 60 years when the small grower in Burgundy started emerging, and in Champagne you had the same story, except that it was delayed by a few decades. The growers had no power; they can only sell their grapes to the big negociants, and the few that had the wherewithal and the financial ability to actually, because it's a very expensive process
Hmm.
to make champagne. If you're a winery and you make still wine, you just make the wine, put it in the bottle, and sell it. Champagne is a whole process, and you have to make the wine in the bottle, individually in the bottle, and you have to ferment, have two fermentations, and then you have to disgorge. You have to age it, disgorge it, the whole thing. It's an expensive process, and we thought that ultimately that the small grower could be appreciated the way the small grower is in Burgundy, with the way that they can express terroir of their specific grapes that they grew in their specific vineyard. So, and that's where the concept of grower champagne came about, and the market really took to that, and now it's really well known, and that not that they're better. Grower champagnes are distinctive.
Yeah.
We love wines that are distinctive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are some great champagnes that are produced by the large firms, but by and large they look for consistency. They look for marketing, whereas the individual growers are more distinctive and more expressive, I think.
I like that. Distinctive and expressive. Um, you guys have a really successful portfolio. And before I even ask this question, I always tell people, and this is something they taught me at Acker, like literally, it was like get to know importers. Get to know importers. That's the first thing. If you get to know importers, so like I remember, like I knew Kermit Lynch was a great importer, right? So I was like, so I got to in my mind, I was like, Skurnik is like everything I've tried from them is really good, and we'll get into some more of that, but because we'll get into more stuff, but like I tell people that get to know importers. That's for the average person. You can look at a bottle of wine, go to the back label, and see who the importer is, right? Then next you get to know winemakers and regions, but that can be a lot in the weeds for a lot of people. But you just get to know importers, you're going to be way ahead of the wine game. I tell people, you guys have the successful portfolio, and talk more about the philosophy behind how you choose your wines and who you choose. And I think you guys partner with people. So what do you guys do differently, you think, than other people do? What's your secret sauce?
Oh, I can tell you that, but I'd have to kill you.
I know. I mean, without telling me what your secret sauce is, his secret it's mayonnaise, ketchup, and relish, guys.
There's really no secret to it. I think from the time that I mentioned before about growing up in a household where we were exposed to wine, we were fortunate. Michael and I both seemed to have a pretty good palate. We seem to be able to discern good wine from bad, and also be able to, and if you taste enough, you can also then be able to discern whether this wine has a market or not. Those are two different things. Is the wine good, and does it have a market? But
good point.
Yeah, but Michael and I have always tasted everything from the beginning of the company to even to today to decide what comes into the company. Now we have portfolio managers who are amazing. We have an amazing team, people. We always say, it's about the wine and it's about the people. We're just as selective about the people that work with us and work for us as we are about the wines we select. Mm-hmm. But I think it's the consistency of the process. from the very beginning, if we both agreed on something, Michael and I, that this is a really exceptional and distinctive wine, and we can sell this, and we're really behind it, because you got to be behind it. You can't do it
Don't half-ass it.
No way.
Yeah.
It's got to, the wines have got to be distinctive, and they have to be, and it have to be exciting, and so we still do that today. So we're a bigger company now, but we're really a big small company. We still do the things the same way. If I like something and he doesn't, we probably don't. We're probably not picking it up, and vice versa. But when we're excited about something, when you're excited about something, you can then translate that to other people. And I think we've been successful that way. But it really comes down to tasting and tasting ability. I don't think that there are a lot of really great tasters in our business. I hate to say it. There are a lot of successful people, but not everybody can taste that well. And I think I'm not a braggadocious kind of guy. I'm not bragging. I just think we do have a pretty good palate.
No, it's interesting you say that. We had a guest on, and I tasted his wines. Like, damn, like I've had people tell me you're nailing the notes, and but I'm not trying to pass any tests or anything. You know what I mean? There is. You can learn. Listen, you can learn anything. I really believe that you can learn lots of things. But you think about people who have an innate ability or something, and then they work on it. You're only going to get better. Like if you have an innate ability and you work on it, you're still going to be better than someone who's just working on it. And I think this is something where there's just some people who have just really just good natural palates. Like you said, and I think for what you guys do, you made a very huge distinction, but can we sell it? Like it is wine and the business. Like something could be great, totally. But is there a market for it? And if there isn't, I'm sure you've seen people crash and burn on that one. I'm gonna champion this grape, and that's great, but you better have something else that you're going to make money off of while you're championing that grape.
I mean, look, we tasted a wine the other day. I don't remember the name of it, but and they were good. They were good, but the prices were ridiculous. It was like we're not going to be able to sell this.
Yeah.
We're just not going to be able to sell it. And so it really is. It's about the wines and it's about the business. And it doesn't mean that everything we tasted 34 years ago when we started.
Right.
Our palates have changed over the years too, and so has the market. The trends have changed. Everything has changed. You got to be aware of those trends, and the more you taste, the better you get at it. But you evolve and you change, and you recognize those trends. And we had a wine early on in our company that we laugh about now. I think it's defunct now. It was called Saint-Aubin, and it was a Cabernet that we sold from Monterey, and the thing really did smell like weeds. It smelled like green beans.
Yeah, just grassy,
and
just vegetable.
People make fun of us, but people liked it back then. We had a market. We sold a lot of it,
exactly.
But we weren't proud of it because we didn't really love that one. There's very few wines that fit into that class where we sold something we didn't really love.
Right.
Most wines in our book, you could pretty much pick anything in the book and have it with dinner tonight, and you're going to be happy.
I'm not bullshitting. They're not. I agree. Like I tell people,
You want to have a red wine that you've never had before?
Yeah, I want to have a red wine I've never had before.
Never had before.
I'm singing.
Not only have you never had this before, but most people in my company haven't had this before. How about that?
I love this.
Yeah. It's just I happen to
oh my God,
get a sample of it. So
wait, let's get you back on the mic.
Sorry
about
that.
No worries.
Yeah, this is called Sori della Sorba, and it's brand new. And if you might notice on the bottom the signatures, you might notice a signature that's familiar.
I do. I know that one.
Carlo Mondavi.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first release of a brand new Italian wine. It's from Italy, from Carlo Mondavi, who's met the love of his life, who's from Piedmont. She's Italian.
Is that Giovanna?
Yes. It's her signature too, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And they bought a vineyard in the town of Diano in Piedmont, and produced this wine from 100% Nebbiolo. It's a Langhe Nebbiolo.
That's what I got. I was like,
Yeah, Nebbiolo.
Barbaresco on the nose.
Yes.
It smells like Barbaresco. And
Exactly.
and there are going to be people who don't know. So Carlo Mondavi is the son or grandson?
The grandson of Robert Mondavi.
Of Robert Mondavi,
Yes.
He's
really,
the
son of Tim Mondavi.
Yeah, Tim Mondavi's son. So Robert Mondavi, the Mondavis don't actually own the name anymore, but is one of the reasons why we have a wine industry in California. So I love this, but literally when you poured it, I was like, because I was trying to figure out. I saw the Sori, so I was like, Sori tilde, and I was thinking Gaia.
Yeah.
But then it's got like a crest, almost like a Shadow of the Pop type crest. So I was like, what is this?
It's a beautiful package, isn't it?
It's gorgeous, just elegant, really good. But the nose is just cherries and rose petals.
Carlo is a really cool young guy, and he has a winery called Rain, also Raen from California.
I know the wines. I haven't had to try them.
Great Pinot Noirs. Yep. He is kind of. He really reminds me of his grandfather. I think he's going places, and he's so passionate. This is 100% organic farming, which he's, incredibly passionate about. And like I said, our sales staff hasn't even tried this yet.
This is good. They're gonna go crazy.
I think so.
I mean, this is and for me in a good way, because I have an American palate, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. It's just a little bit riper. It's not blown, but just has just a little bit more ripeness on the fruit. Mm-hmm. But it has all that. Still got leather. Still got all that other stuff going on.
It's got that telltale Nebbiolo character of spiciness.
Yep. This is beautiful.
But you could tell it's not made in California.
Yeah, but exactly. But not.
And it's also not like, Carlo is. He's not taking a California winemaking style and trying to impose it on. This is very respectful of the terroir, I think.
Which is coming back in vogue, like sense of place, right? So, so we've been talking about wines. We're gonna just pivot a little bit because I've been talking to you for a minute.
It's fun.
It is fun. So, like 7 years ago, you guys added spirits to your book. So, what prompted you guys to get in the spirits game, and how did that kind of come about?
That's a good question. I think I think it stems from Michael, who has a place down in the Caribbean, in the island of St. John, and he opened a restaurant there, just for fun,
just for shits and giggles.
About 10 years ago, it no longer exists now. He did it for 5 years. He got out of his system, and he's done with it now. But it was called Fatty Crab, and there was a Fatty Crab in New York that he befriended the guy there, and he helped him open the restaurant in St. John. And they were a Malaysian cuisine, and they also were famous for their bar, for the cocktails. He met a guy named Adam Schumann who today runs our spirits portfolio from the Fatty Crab, and by owning this restaurant, I think Michael had a bar down there, and he had created great cocktail recipes, and he really got into spirits, and we decided, after being in the wine business only for the first 28 years of our existence, 27, that we could add, a complement of spirits to it, and why not? And we brought Adam on, and one thing led to another, from picking up, El Dorado rum, which was the first rum producer we brought on, and then we brought on a team of mixologists and ex-bartenders, and we started creating a portfolio of spirits that would appeal to bars, cocktail bars, and also restaurants in New York, which is how it started. And it's grown. One thing has led to another, and we have an incredible book of the finest artisanal mezcals, for example, and great whiskeys from Japan now, and bourbons, and it's really taken off. It's the fastest growing segment in our business now.
Wow, that is amazing. And again, that's like fucking Skurnik commercial. But like, if you see Skurnik, if you drink gin and you see Skurnik gin, it's going to be probably the best gin you ever had. I'm just saying,
Well,
in my
thank
opinion,
you.
for my palate.
Well, with spirits, we like to say that we've crafted a portfolio with a wine palate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, spirits historically has been all about branding, and you know, it's sort of like that champagne discussion we were having
Yeah.
before. It was about advertising and marketing, and
Right. I mean,
you
look
know,
at
who am I when I'm drinking this
Kettle One.
bourbon?
I mean,
I'm,
you see how liquor brands break. I mean, Absolute, Kettle One. It's just all of a sudden, this is the best vodka in the world because it's a commercial every 10 minutes. That's how they break them.
And I used to be in the advertising business. It's all about lifestyle. What do you associate with this?
Yeah.
But we decided to create a portfolio of spirits based on, imagine that, the quality in the glass, right? What a concept. So, you know, develop a spirits portfolio that everything is like as good as it could possibly be in that category. And lo and behold, you know, I don't know how many other companies have done that.
Yeah.
And it's been really successful. And we thought maybe we would just be a complement. It would be a complement to, you know, so we could sell wine and spirits to certain accounts. Maybe cocktail bars who bought spirits, they buy a little wine from us too. And you know, we didn't realize that we would actually become well known for quality spirits, but we have, and it's really gratifying.
That's nice. That's nice. That's a cool thing. Something that happened a few years ago that blew my mind, and I have you talk about it, is because it is so many. You talk about their relationships and choosing to work with, and I know you represented so many iconic California brands here on the East Coast. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, "Holy shit! People must be losing their shit." Skurnik is opening up on the West Coast. How did you guys pull that one off? Because that's a coup.
Yeah, we did. We actually have pulled it off. I pinch myself, you know, because it's like years ago we used to like dabble in California. Like I have a friend who has, you know, he's got a retail store in California. Maybe we can sell him a few cases, you know. But we never had any visions of expanding beyond our contiguous states here: New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, which is really was the first three states that we opened up. But we, you know, being that we were a national importer and we sell to distributors all over the country, we have been involved in wine sales throughout the country. So we had a distributor in California who did a really good job for us on the German wines and the Austrian wines, but he refused to buy anything else from us. So we had a quandary, and as our national portfolio of wines grew, we needed a solution in California. You know, if he's not going to buy them, what will we do? You know, we're going to just give them to, and the options there were like, you know, Southern,
I know,
and Young's and
Young's
big companies.
Yep.
So we decided to do it ourselves, and we went out there. This was in 2017 when we started, and we went out there searching for talent, and we hired a team of experienced sales reps and sales managers, and we hired our Brian Seifer, who's has worked for us for, you know, over 15 years here in New York, and we trusted him to kind of be the GM of this company, and we built it from scratch, and it's been super successful, both in Northern California and Southern California, and it's really exciting. And it gives us more reason to travel to California.
I know.
Which we love to do.
Which never sucks. Never sucks.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you guys started out, where were you headquartered? On Long Island somewhere, right?
Yeah, for a long time we were based in Syosset, Long Island. We started out in Jericho, Long Island, which is where both Michael and I raised our children. You know, we had a suburban. It's a suburban community. You know, bedroom community, commuting distance to the city, but it's suburbia. And because we lived there, you know, that's why the company ended up starting there. And for many years, the talent we would hire, they'd get on the train, you know, on the Long Island Railroad and come out every day. But in 2014, we moved to the city, and it's turned out to be one of the best moves we ever made, because this is where the heart of the wine business is. This is where it is, and we created this showroom, on 25th Street, where we have, it's half an office, and the other. You've been there, right?
I haven't been there, but I've seen it. I will be
you'll
now.
have to
I know.
come up.
I was DMing whoever did social media, like, "Are you in the trade?" I'm like, well, now I am.
Unfortunately, the office has been closed for over a year.
But I know
But
it's like
when
there's like a
we're
bar. You have
reopening.
a whole mixology
Correct.
station. Like it's fly. It's
Yeah.
fly as
Yeah.
fuck. It's dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Fly as fuck is dope. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So like.
So being here,
how's that helped?
has been incredible, because the customers are here, and every day they're coming up, visiting us. This is pre-pandemic, and we're opening up bottles, and we're mixing cocktails, and if they have a new restaurant they're opening, we help them craft their opening wine list, and having this showroom really.
Mm-hmm.
And also, so half the office are workstations, and the other half is the showroom, where we could do seminars too. We have, winemakers come to town. It's just turned out to be such a boon for our business, and it's great for our employees too. They get to taste, they get to attend these seminars, get to meet the winemakers, and it's in the center of everything, and this is where it all happens. And pandemic, aside, some people are leaving the city and all that kind of stuff. I think you're making a mistake if you count New York out. New York City's coming back.
Hey man, New York always comes back.
It does.
So speaking of which, you talked about your employees and how it's been great for them. So like Skurnik Wines has you guys have now produced a farm team of importers with great books. Who are some of the people? I know you mentioned David Bowler. Let's talk about David Bowler. Let's talk about Doug Polaner.
Yeah.
Talk about what your and people own wine stores. What do people work at Skurnik, and then they get inspired. I hope they don't be like, fuck you guys. I hope it's just inspirational and they go do stuff. Who are some of the people who people might have heard of? I've said them, but talk about working with these people.
Well, one of the things, some people might think that if your employees leave and create a competitive company, not that we encourage that,
Right.
We don't. We love our loyal employees, and our team is amazing, and we love for them to continue to work for us. But on a number of times, a good employee has gone and started his own company or her company, and done well for themselves, and we're happy for them for the most part. David Bowler remains a really good friend of mine, and Doug used to be our #1 salesperson in Westchester, and he went up there, and now he's based in Westchester and has a company.
Katona.
Or Mount Kisco.
Mount Kisco.
Well, maybe he lives in Katona now.
No, it's Mount Kisco. They're right. They're pretty close. But he rides his bike all the time. I follow him. But
Blake Murdoch used to work for us, and he now has worked for many years for Manny Burke at Rare Wine Company, and Mike Wheeler was.
That was my dude, Wheeler. Mike Wheeler was our sales rep. He was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And he's out in Portland now, right?
He's in Portland. He's got an importing company there, and. Who else? Clark Bowling, who works for Rosenthal, used to work for us.
Anthony Austin, he's with Very.
I don't know who he's with now, but yeah, he worked for us for many years. A lot of people.
He was my guy when I was in Jersey.
Like I said, we're really good at selecting our wines, and we're really good at selecting our people.
Yeah.
And if you're going to select really good people, some of them you're going to end up losing them because they're good. And but we're not afraid of that. And I think there's enough business out there for many companies and many good people, and we just wish them well, and we wish them, wish them a good competition.
Yeah, that's cool, man. No, I think people work for you, and it's good to be they're I can do this, and they learn from you, and hopefully, like you said, there's more than there's so much wine in the world.
Sincerest form of flattery.
Yep.
Imitation.
Absolutely. So, Skurnik Wines is to this day. It's grown, it's scaled is the term. But it's still a family business with you and Michael. And tell me about the next generation that is working with you.
Thank you for asking. My pride and joy. I've got a son and a daughter, David and Erica. Both of them work for the company, and both of them do me proud every day. They're just, really growing, and David has been with the company now for over 10 years and is really one of the top managers. And I'm still extremely involved in the company, but I'm not burning the candle at both ends anymore. David's taking on more responsibility, and I'm taking on a little less. You let him handle it. And he's earned it. And Erica too. She's now involved in sales management. She's working with our general sales manager and doing incredible work. And all three of Michael's kids have worked for the company too. So we are a multi-generational company now, and we have our plans are to continue this company in the future. We're set up with that succession plan. It's all in place. And that's something that's very comforting to our wine growers, because that's, one of the reasons they love to work with us is because we're a family business just like them.
Yeah.
We don't work with big corporation, corporate wine operations. So they're very comforted to know that the company is set for the future, and that we have family members, second generation family members, who are ready to take the helm in the future. So it's very satisfying to know that, and I've never ever pushed my kids to come into the business. They did it voluntarily, willingly. They think the wine business is a cool business, and it definitely is.
It is.
We love it, and we're blessed.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be in a business that is would be our hobby if we weren't working in it. You do something for a living that you love. They say, what's the old saying? You never work a day in your life, right?
Yep.
So I love it. I love it every day, and the company's set up for the future, and that's really great.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So we got one more wine I want to get to.
Let's do it. This was your request.
I know. Mm-hmm. And Skurnik Wines always over deliver. I asked for 2 wines, he brought 4. And then I was like, there's so many more things I could try. I was like, I haven't had, shout out to Tegan, I haven't ever had the Sandland stuff.
Oh, I could have brought that.
I know. Well, I got you now, man.
So you mentioned that you loved Mullineux.
Yeah, well, I really fell in love with South African Cinsault, and then over the course of the pandemic, we got tariffs, and then South African wine industry, apparently have really problems with alcoholism or something, so what went on in South Africa?
It's terrible.
Because Tegan was literally, he's like, buy South Africa, if you can buy South African wine. So what's going on?
Well, you know why that was? Because during COVID, whereas in America the response was, wine is essential,
right?
Because they knew people would be on this would protest on the streets if they couldn't buy alcohol in this country. But in South Africa, they actually did. They banned it. They banned the sale of alcohol, not only domestically within the country. And I guess they thought, I don't know what they thought. It was just really foolish. And so these poor South African wine growers didn't have a market except for their export market. So we actually actively promoted South African sales so to help them out, because they couldn't sell any wine domestically there. So you said you had the Chenin Blanc from Mullineux, which is absolutely phenomenal. Stellar. Andrea and Chris Mullineux. Andrea's an American woman, and Chris is a South African. They married and started the winery in 2007, and have become known as one of the finest producers in the country. They pretty much started the Swartland Revolution, which they call it, and it's the region is Swartland, and which used to be known years and years ago for kind of everyday table wines, not really anything special, but they have discovered and promoted this terroir, which a number of producers have since followed. Besides the Chenin Blanc, the reds are
very northern Rhone.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is called this is a single vineyard. It's called GRANITE, and it's from a single vineyard with at least 25-year-old vines, and it's all foot trodden, and it's very, very small production and very carefully produced. But yes, it reminds me you of a Hermitage
Yeah.
or a Côte Rôtie.
Totally. I mean, oh, so yeah.
And the finish, I mean, it's just so rich and so long, so finished. And so Mullineux has become justly famous as a result. Wines are just great.
Wow, that is. Thank you for sharing all the wines today. Really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
And since we're talking about government and stuff like that, in your introduction, we talk about how you serve as a board member for the U.S. Wine Trade Alliance. Tell me about your work fighting against the wine and spirits tariffs, which probably is a little bit easier now that we have a new administration. But for you as someone who imports wine, what were you like? You're watching the news and you had to be like, what the fuck? Like,
totally. I mean, like I said before, we've been in business 34 years, and for 32 of them, we haven't had a single tariffs. Just didn't exist. It's free trade. I mean, it never entered our consciousness that this would be something that could that they could use against or use as a tool for this. This. I mean, when Trump got elected. China this and China that and Europe and nobody's fair and America first and all that. And free trade is what America's about.
That's the whole joke for me.
I mean, where's the free trade?
That's the whole joke for me. Is like that's what you espouse is like let the market decide.
So yeah, and so of course it was totally like everything, every one of his policies, and we don't want to get too much into politics, but so misguided, and what it ended up doing was hurting American businesses. America first. Well, this was hurting American business. So one of the things, so we all got together, importers, distributors, retailers, restaurateurs, and it's the one thing. The one thing about tariffs, it's the one thing that united this industry. Everybody was anti-tariff. There's not a single wine company or restaurant or retailer who's in favor of this ridiculous policy. So we created this trade organization called the U.S. Wine Trade Alliance. Ben Aneff, who is the president, and he came to my office with Dan Posner, who's another retailer who's been very active politically too. And this was just after they enacted the tariffs, and asked me to help them raise funds and create this organization and create basically a lobbying group to write letters to Congress people and go down to Washington D.C. and testify, and all this stuff. And we did all this stuff. And I've never really been politically active in my career, but this I was just passionate about because it was so wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased to say that I think that the fact that I know that we have a new administration, and I'm thrilled about that. And they immediately rescinded the tariffs, and they say temporarily, but I think it's going to be permanent. But I really do think that our organization made a huge difference.
No, I think you guys held the line there. You actually held the line.
And I'll tell you why I think it's why I know this, because there is still a dispute out there about taxes that that countries are imposing on digital services, like Apple and Google and in Europe. Right. So the U.S. government is still threatening tariffs on this topic, because the first tariff argument was all about airplanes.
Right.
I mean, ridiculous. We're raising prices on wine, imported wine, because of airplane unfair competition. It's just total bullshit. And so, but this digital tax issue, they listed a bunch of industries that they're going to put tariffs on, and wine's not part of it.
Oh, cool.
And the reason wine's not part of it is because of us, I think.
Yeah. No, that's
because we were really effective, and Ben is amazing. I hope he comes on your show someday, because Ben is the most knowledgeable person. He should be a lobbyist. He's he knows how Washington D.C. works, and we hired this firm, and plus we got the incredible letter writing campaign to to Congress people and senators, and they really listened to us because we banded together, you know, strength in numbers.
Yep. Yeah.
And so really, I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Well, you should be, man. You really should be. That was really good to see. So, lastly, because I hope you consider yourself a friend of the show. We'll have you back on in a later episode, man. Seriously.
I'm feeling friendly about the show.
Cool. And if not, we'll just next time me and Cliff get together, we'll invite you. We'll have some bottles, watch a game, something.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. But so you grew up in this household. Your parents went to France, Scotch drinkers, and came back wine enthusiasts. What was the bottle of wine that did it for you, though?
I can't think of like the one that did it for me really, really early on.
That's fine.
But I can think of a bottle that's relatively early on that was incredibly profound.
Love it.
Which is 61 La Chapelle, Jabelet La Chapelle.
I'm a Rhone guy, so.
I mean, 61 La Chapelle is one of these wines. It's immortal, and it's impossible to find today. But I went to attend a winemaker dinner with Jabelet at Montrachet Restaurant when Daniel Jonas was running it at the time. And they had many vintages of La Chapelle, including the 61, which I got to taste there. And this is a wine that was just one of those wines that's just completely immortal. It was like, it tasted like it could last another 50 years.
Wow.
And it was already 50 years old.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And it was one of those wines in the zone.
Yeah.
In the zone.
In the zone. I think me and Harmon have been in the zone here today. And Harmon, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. It's been just too much fun.
Pleasure's been mine, man.
And just you're a body of knowledge of wine and business, and just I'm sure you could talk intelligently on so many topics, particularly Mets baseball.
But unfortunately not hip hop. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I can't add anything to. But you are the expert there, and you don't need to learn anything about that from me.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I do like some hip hop, and I just happened to be at the right age to go to clubs when it was out. although I got younger guests than me who like 90s hip, but like that was like when I was living in New York.
Well, I'll tell you what, we get together, we'll drink wine. You can teach me something about hip hop because I don't really know that much about it.
It's a deal. So Harmon, tell everybody where they can find you, what the handle is for Skurnik Wines on Instagram, and be a part of what you guys are doing over there at Skurnik Wines.
I think the handle is at Skurnik Wines. I think that's it.
I think so, and we'll make sure we have the right one in the notes.
Yeah, thank you. And Skurnik.com, SkurnikWines.com. You can check out our website. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We got a terrific team. Actually, it's the one person who's really great at managing our social media presence, and we try to
very responsive.
Do our part in terms of education and seminars and things like that.
Yeah, they do a lot of series of IG Live. So tune in. They have a great portfolio. So they're sharing with their producers, like I said. So make sure you follow them. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Until the next time, it's your boy MJ. Cheers to the Mavericks, which the Skurnik boys definitely are some Mavericks. Philosophers, deep thinkers, and to all you wine drinkers, take care. Peace.
Peace. Ciao.